Yep.
And you find yourself really good. You very strongly interrogate those ideas that before you were absolutely convinced were brilliant. Welcome, Gabba. Welcome to the first Spotlight on. Isn't it
Hey,
wonderful? It's
thank you for having me.
no welcome. It's good to be here. For those of you who are tuning in, my name is Johnny McLean. I'm the associate director at the Lichfield
Cool.
Garrick and the community meal, the beast that it is, the, the highlight of the year. So for Spotlight on, how it works is we have sort of a list of questions we've sourced around people online, people we know, people who work at the Garrick and things to essentially get together and answer a whole load of questions that people have about various community initiatives. So this one's Community Musical. We're going to roll through them and hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about how the Community Musical works and what we do. Fabulous. So our first question on our list, and Gabba, I'm going to let you take the lead on this one. What is the Community Musical? What is it, Gabba? Tell us. Tell us all. What is the Community Musical?
What does community musical mean to me? I would definitely say to start off with, the community musical is probably the heart of a lot of what the Garrick does. Because working in Lichfield, there's a large community element to a lot of what we do. But the community musical is definitely rooted in the central of everything that we do, revolving around this big sort of group effort to produce theatre that is real people telling real stories, doing theatre at its core, really, and giving opportunities to people who may be too young or too old, or maybe feel like they can't do it. And it's about creating this sort of really beautiful moment of working with all these incredible people who are all so unique and bring their own talents in their own right, and creating a really, really incredible piece of theatre that people talk about and get people to think and get people to talk and get people to really sort of, it engages in the community in a really unique way.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I think I'd agree. I think it's really something you said there really sort of I think sticks with me and it sort of forms a lot of the core of kind of how I approach the community musical, which is as I said it's kind of real people telling a real story. And I've always as a sort of professional I've always been really interested in the sort of the dual narrative of community theatre and the fact that when you put on a community musical like we do, you're not just watching Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe or Titanic or Once Upon a Mattress or that sort of thing. You are watching a large group of people who this isn't their job, kind of thing. Incredibly talented people, but people who aren't seasoned professionals. That they come together to tell an absolutely fabulous story, and I think that for me is probably why I think I would really struggle to ever leave community theatre behind. Because I think there's something really, because there's something theatre with the bells and the whistles and everything's absolutely wonderful, and when it's all done amazingly slickly and things, it's absolutely fantastic. But I think there is a real magic to communities coming together to tell a story, and I think a large challenge for a director is trying to get the audience to feel that magic as well. Because when you've been involved with it for months and months and months, there is a real sense of pride. And as a director, you feel incredibly proud of your cast and things,
Mm.
watching them, having watched them grow, having watched them kind of learn it all and things, and then watch them on stage with everything. It's you feel very proud, but it's trying to make the audience feel that magic as well. To be fair, I think that's probably what sets the community musical apart from the professional. But looking towards what our next question is, what sets the community musical apart from the professional productions? I think something that sets it apart for me is I never get nervous before a professional production anymore. Which, yeah, I never get nervous before a professional production that I've been involved in. But I still get very, very nervous before community musicals. And if anybody's listening who's done community shows with me before, I'm as much as I say I'm calm, I'm crying inside with worry. And it's nothing to do with anybody's abilities or anything like that. It's simply, I think I always have a really, really strong desire for the cast to do well. And I think, with a professional production, you want the show to go well because you want it to have a life. You want the actors to do well, for themselves, but also for the business aspect of it. I think in some ways, you want the show to go down well because you want to make another, you want it to go on tour potentially, that sort of thing. For a community musical, for me, I so desperately want it to go well because I just, for me, I'm so desperate that everybody gets to come off stage feeling proud of themselves and feeling the pride that I feel in them when it has
Yeah.
gone well.
I think one of the biggest parts for me is you have to remember these people aren't getting paid. They're doing this out of their pure passion for theatre, and I think that's so important. Like, these people are coming together to create theatre off their own backs, giving up their own time. Like, that is so powerful, and it's such an important distinction that sets things apart in such a way that makes me think, wow. like, like, wow.
It's quite humbling, isn't it?
It
There
is.
is a,
It's yeah.
I think as a director, you actually feel a lot of pressure, especially kind of in those first couple of rehearsals. You're like, everyone here is kind of come in on the good faith that I've got a good idea.
Yep.
And you find yourself really good. You very strongly interrogate those ideas that before you were absolutely convinced were brilliant. You find yourself strongly interrogating them to really make sure that you're sure it's a good idea. I think as well with community musical, it sets it apart because you end up working with people who, they're working with people who love what they do. Absolutely love it. And I think also there's a responsibility to still kind of to make it fun, because as you said, people are giving up their time. It's achieving work in a way that is still fun.
Yeah.
Because they're not getting paid to be here for 8 hours. They're not getting paid kind of thing. Because to a certain degree, making any show is really good fun. But it is a point in the process that I always struggle with when you start to get to those boring bits and you're asking someone to run something for the 27th time. That you're just like, are they still having fun? Are they still enjoying themselves? I really hope so. And yeah, I think also I always find myself really wanting to find something for every show that I ever do as community show. It's finding something that you wouldn't otherwise get to do. It's giving someone a story.
Yes.
And I think for Lion and the Witch in the Wardrobe, that was the flaming torches. That was kind of having the real fire on stage, and also working with Keith Wallace, the fantastic fight director. Getting to kind of work with him was sort of two things that was for everybody, kind of to take away and enjoy, and have that be a particularly special fit part of being part of the production.
A big part of community theatre for me is giving back, really. The Garrick and the whole community aspect have done so much for me as a person. Like, I've worked at the Garrick for a while now, and I've done all my shows with my university and college there, and it's always been such a fantastic environment to work in. And I feel like I'm doing the bare minimum by just giving back the opportunities that the Garrick has given me. Why I do community theatre is to support that passion and to nurture people and to help them grow. And they may not want to do this as a career, they may do, but that's not important at this point. What's important is ensuring that everyone has a positive experience. And that's really the greatest thing you can do, I feel, is provide someone a positive experience that they'll remember for a long time with good memories.
Yeah, I think that's That's a perfect way of putting it, Gabba.
Thank you.
I think I'd agree. Community theatre has that special atmosphere that I don't think you necessarily get in professional productions as often, which is that it's it's special for the people who are coming in, which makes it special for you, which is a real treat as a kind of as a professional working on a show. When you've got 65 people coming in excited to be there, it's just such a wonderful working atmosphere. I feel incredibly spoilt often that one of my working days is spending a day rehearsing with sort of a community cast.
It's a very positive work environment, and I think it's great for people who, as I said, necessarily may not have the greatest confidence or may not do a lot of theatre based or creative based work outside of this. It's a really good environment of encouragement. It's just magic, really, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll
It's
just leave it at
really
that.
incredible.
It's
Yeah,
just magic.
it's
It's
just
just
magic.
magic. Passion, magic, buzzwords. um, so, come on. What is it like? I'm going to try and answer this one. What is it like
Well,
working with nearly 70 people on any given day? And you kind of what is that like?
well.
It you know what, it was after we'd just finished working on Jesus Christ Superstar, the Young Rep show, where it was a group of about 27 young people, which is still a sizable amount, but it was working with 27 young people. I think I'd forgotten how
Oh
much more intense the community musical
yeah. Oh yes.
was in terms of just people management. you find yourself at about 10:05. The rehearsal was supposed to start at 10 o'clock. You're still signing everybody in, and you just look out over the green room that is just rammed with people. Complete. There's no room for anyone to move, and I think it induces a mild hysteria
Yeah.
that you just have to embrace. You just embrace
Oh
the fact that you're in charge of 70 people today. You got to make sure that they're all happy, safe, learning some complex stuff,
yes.
remembering it for next week. Um, yeah, it is a challenge at times. I always say, you know what the most difficult part is? Warm-up games. Warm-up games for 70 people is
Oh.
nightmarish.
Oh my days.
Because you don't want to split the group down, because part of the joy of having 70 people is that just makes an atmosphere. You can't have
Yeah.
70 people in a room and then not be some kind of atmosphere or charge. And so you don't want to break it down into smaller groups for warming up, because this is also one of the few times, on certain rehearsal days, is one of the few times that everyone's kind of going to be working together. Because I'm very much for those people who haven't worked with me before, I'm very much a believer in use every second. So if you're not working on the scene that we're working on stage, you're going to go out with the MD and work on a song, or you're going to go with a choreographer or one of the ADs and work on learning a dance, or you're going to go over something. There's always something you can be doing to fill that time. I really don't believe in sort of people sitting down doing nothing. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but I hate it when it is. Um, so often people will be splitting off, and they won't see after this warm up, and they won't see each other till the end of the day where we're showing back what we've been working on. And so I'm really, really keen that you do something with all 70 people. But oh my word, when you've got a 9 meter by 10 meter space with an 8 foot drop on one end, you're actually quite limited on the warm up games you can do for 70 people. Because that's the other challenge with sort of working with 70 people is, and it's something I'm very proud of, that our community musicals get a huge range of people. They're very inclusive. We have people sort of upwards of 70. We have people down to the age of 9. We have people, we have experienced performers. We have people who've never performed before. We have people with sort of with disabilities or difficulties. It's a real, everyone's from sort of different backgrounds. It really is a very di- in many ways, yeah, a diverse room of people who kind of have one thing in common, which is they like doing theatre, or they like the idea, or they think that they might like doing theatre, and that can sometimes be a real balancing act. Is giving something to do that is sort of gentle and encouraging enough for people who are very new, but also challenging enough for people who are very seasoned kind of performers and who are looking. This is a stepping stone on the way to one day doing it professionally. Balancing that for people is tricky, and you can't always get it right. Sometimes you have to kind of note that actually that game wasn't great for this group of people, so the next game you play will need to make sure that it serves them more so. So, after that monster of a question, got how do you choose your musicals? How do you choose your musicals, Gabba? I mean, this is one you're keen to know the answer to as well.
Very. Yeah.
Oh, how do we choose them? Goodness me. Rigorously. Oh, it takes a year off my life every time, I think. There's a whole host of factors that you have to think about, which is you need something that's satisfying for your audience. And it needs to be, I mean, not only satisfying for your audience, but something that your audience want to turn up to watch. That is sellability is a really important one, because the community musical supports itself. It is an entity of its own kind of thing. The aim is always to break even with it. It's after that, it's also what's good for the cast to do. Because sometimes you get these shows that are absolutely amazing, but they're real star vehicles, and if you're not playing one of three characters, you've actually got nothing to do. And I'm a big fan of ensemble work, so.
Oh yeah.
So I'm very keen to find musicals where people have something to contribute throughout. Yeah, you shouldn't. I think even if if you're in a proper ensemble, you should be busy. You're very, very busy. If anything, too busy. After that, it's very selfishly. After that, it's do I want to work on it? Which isn't a gig. Which I think often even with a musical that I initially might roll my eyes at the idea of working on, I always make sure to do my due research and find a reason as to why it's an exciting thing to work on. Because I think especially all these popular musicals, they've been popular for a reason, and it's very easy to kind of give into theatre snobbery and go, oh, I can't believe I've got to work on this. And it's like, well, no, that's clicked into something in a lot of people. What's at the heart? What is that? What is the exciting sort of drive at the heart of it? And so I always essentially, I do consider, whether I initially want to work on it or not. But to be honest, my response to if I'm sat there rolling my eyes going, oh, I don't really want to work on it, is to go, well, let's find a reason why it's an exciting project, rather than just going, no, shelve it. I think sometimes I've got to make sure I don't trip over my own normal sort of taste in theatre. After that, it's the other one is, as we are, this is community musical really is probably the second biggest thing we do in a year if you discount Panto. So it's the second biggest show that we produce, and this one is entirely self-produced. It's completely in-house, and so it's also something that you've got to find that will excite your production team, sort of the actual theatre, the people who work in the theatre and are going to be giving a lot of hours to the production, need to be excited about it as well. And also the last one is very much kind of, there's a little bit of room for creative freedom. People come to see a musical for a reason, and you need to make sure you sort of key into those, but actually you also want there to be the chance for your cast to make some decisions of their own, for you as a director to make some decisions of your own, for everyone to get to kind of flex their creative muscles, really. So essentially, what you do is you just look for a unicorn. You look for a unicorn that's all of those things, and hold on to it tight when you find it. How do you get involved? How do you get involved, Gabba?
Well, when the community musical is announced, there is a handy little application form you can apply through. You can email it to the Garrick, or you can hand it in at the box office.
Good. You're well remembered.
Thank you.
Yes, essentially, the key place to keep an eye on is our social media. That it always, without fail, any call outs for that kind of thing will go up there. So the other thing I'm desperate to mention is as well, because not many people seem to know about this. It goes on our application form, but I think people's eyes kind of skate over it. Is that we always offer, and we're very, very proud to offer bursary places for all of our community initiatives, but community musical as well. You know, you do have to pay. You do have to pay to be a part of it, but for anyone, and I think it's £65 is the registration fee, and that covers a number of things. But for anyone who's not able to afford it, we're always very, very keen that is not a barrier to people being involved, and so we offer bursary places, which essentially mean that you let us know that for whatever reason you're unable to afford the registration fee, and we might ask for a little bit more information, or we may sort of straight give the bursary depending on the situation. But essentially, it's to make sure that there are as few barriers as possible to anybody being a part of the community musical. And the last one, which is something we don't have an MD here to talk to us about it, but it's how do you do the music?
How do we do the music?
I mean, Gabby, you're going to have to answer this one. I'm fully self-confessedly, I know nothing about music, which is a nightmare when you direct musicals, but it's why you get a really good musical director.
Yes. Interestingly, the musical approach is well, you start with an MD. An MD is a musical director, and they focus on working with the entire cast on the vocals of the show. And for the majority of a rehearsal period, you will not have a full band, which some people may find surprising, some may not. You mainly just have an MD and a keyboard, and all rehearsals will be done with that until you get to a band call later in the rehearsal process. And it's really interesting to work on vocals because everyone has a different ability. Like, everyone has a different level of skill in music, and it's so one of my favourite parts personally of the community musical process is hearing the first time they all sing together.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Love that moment.
It's beautiful. I love it. I completely agree. It's just a beautiful moment. It's always the point. It's just No, I always cheat and like switch off the director brain and I just sit by the MD and I enjoy it because it's lovely. That first, as you said, that first time you get a really big harmony or something like that is gorgeous, lovely. Sorry, I completely interrupted you there.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I echo that completely. It's a really powerful moment of hearing everyone just come together and all these voices. Because at this point, we've heard everyone sing individually. So then hearing because we have a massive mixture of voices.
Yeah.
So many different people coming together to sing at once. It's always such a, groundbreaking moment.
Yeah. Yes, it really is. It starts to feel real, doesn't it?
Very.
I always feel that point when you start to hear everybody sing together. That's the point when you kind of it's on, it's real, it's going to happen. and it's really exciting. Right? Any last things?
Well, I suppose all I can say is I greatly encourage anyone to get involved in the community musical, whether it's as a cast member or as an assistant director or shadowing creative or a tech. Like any way you can get involved, I cannot encourage people enough. It has been a life changing experience for not only myself, but for so many people I know who have been involved. It's been the shift in how not only myself but other people have looked at theatre. The shift in how it's all changed over the time we've worked together is fascinating, and I think it's a really important part of the Garrick that this exists. And I think people are missing out. I encourage everyone to get involved.
Thank you very much, Gavin.
Thank you very much
Right.
for your time. Thank you for having
Yeah,
me.
so, thank you to anyone who's made it this far. Thank you for listening, and do comment down below if you have any ideas for what you would like to learn about next in our Spotlight On. We're trying to talk about all of the different community initiatives, sort of different areas of the theatre. So anything you're keen to learn a little bit more about, or if you have any questions about what you've heard today, then please do get in touch. As always, stay safe, stay positive, and we'll speak soon.